What's up, fam? Welcome back to the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. I mean, the guest that we have on today for you guys needs no introduction. Anybody who's even looked at processes or systems or starting a business is familiar with traction, EOS, and I mean, it's an honor to have him on the podcast today with us. I mean, we're gonna be sure to pick his brain on a lot of things that are happening around us. And our guest is none other than Mr. GINO WICKMAN. He is a EOS worldwide founder and creator of the EOS system, and basically, it's one of the fundamentals processes that are widely used to create business structures and automations and stuff like that. So if you're anything like me, which I think a lot of my audience is, we geek out on how to automate and improve processes and systems and really take the business to a whole nother level, right? Running like a business. And this the material that he offers or that he puts out there has been a fundamental in everything that I do. So I'm starstruck right now, and I'm very, very excited to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Rafael, it is a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to hopefully helping a lot of people today.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. So can you give us a little bit of background on your story? And I mean, I think it'd be great coming from you, right? Aside from the books or the intro. So.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try and give you the fast version, and I'm going to go all the way back to 18 years old because that's really where it all began. And so I graduated high school with a solid 2.3 GPA and did not go to college. I could not wait to get out of academia. And I just wanted to go to work. I was an entrepreneur in the making. I didn't know it at the time. And so as all my friends went off to college, I just wanted to go to work. Went to work in a machine shop for a few years, saved up a bunch of money, took my entrepreneurial leap, lost all of my money, and through bouncing around in my early 20s, found myself in the real estate industry, and then ultimately taking over the family business, which was real estate sales training. Took over a business that was in dire need of a turnaround, deeply in debt. It was the #1 real estate sales training organization in North America. Turned it around in 3 years, ran it for 7 years. We decided to successfully sell. There were 3 of us that owned it at the time, my dad and a third partner. I stayed on for a year and a half to transition in the new leadership team out of Virginia, and then retired from the company. During that experience, I got involved in the strategic coach program with Dan Sullivan. I also was part of the Entrepreneurs Organization. And it was those 2 things that really helped me get clear on why I'm on this planet, and that is to help entrepreneurs. So after helping my entrepreneur father, that's where the original visionary integrator concept comes from, my dad and I. And wow. So from there, after retiring from the company, I then set out to pursue that passion. And 5 years of killing myself, I put the finishing touches on what is now EOS. So 50 clients, 500 sessions, over 5 years. When EOS was then created, I then wrote Traction, got turned down by 31 publishers telling me it will never sell. Found a great partner in Don Tinney to join forces and build a team of EOS implementers, and then shoot forward in time. We now have 140,000 companies using the EOS tools. Traction has sold 1 million+ copies. I sold EOS worldwide 4 years ago. I still own 12.5%. I still own all the books. I'm still the EOS guy, but I'm now pursuing a passion project called Entrepreneurial Leap, which is all about helping entrepreneurs in the making take a better entrepreneurial leap, start a better startup, and build great companies. And so that passion project stems from teaching what I needed the most. And so I look back at that 18-year-old kid who was a mislabeled derelict, lost, confused, insecure, scared to death. I didn't know I was an entrepreneur in the making at the time. Took me till I was 29 to realize it. And so if I would have had this content, this book at 18, I would have gotten an 11-year jumpstart on life. And so that's what I'm on to next, is this passion project, Entrepreneurial Leap. And that's my story.
Man, I love it. I think a lot of the stuff, I mean, resonates really, really good with the stuff that I do. Actually, one of the questions takes me back to 17 years of age, and we'll jump into that a little later. But I think there's often need, right? I mean, we don't know. There's potential in every one of us. Anybody who's willing to take some risk and take bet on themselves per se is a platform for potential. The thing is, and I'll speak for myself on this, is like you don't have clarity over what the next step is. You know, for me, it was a very, you know, tough challenge to figure all that all that out. My first company was nothing to do. It was all hustle. It had nothing to do with purpose or what I wanted to do and impact and whatnot. I was chasing the dollar, and it just didn't pan out, right? So it's the key word that you just dropped there was a passion project, right? And I think it really, when you link passion to activity and movement and some, you know, a degree of clarity, I think you have the making of something that can be spectacular. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have a question right out of the gate. You're talking about entrepreneurs in the making. What does that mean?
Yeah. So what that means is it's exactly what you were just talking about. And so an entrepreneur in the making is this being that is a very unique being that has 6 essential traits. You were born with these 6 essential traits. You either are or you aren't. Only 4% of the population is. And so with that, it is anyone at any age. You could be 10 years old, 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60. And you've always been a little bit different than everyone else in your life. Okay. And so the 6 essential traits, and as I share them, I always love your audience to kind of scan their body and see if this is them, but it is visionary, passionate, problem solver, driven, risk taker, and responsible. And so if you have those traits, you are an entrepreneur in the making. If you have those traits and you have not yet taken your entrepreneurial leap, you are an entrepreneur in the making. Now, someone who has taken their entrepreneurial leap and has those 6 essential traits, they are an entrepreneur, not in the making, because they've already taken their leap. So as we have this dialogue, I want to create a little context for your audience, because there's really 2 contexts where we might bounce back and forth between. And so the first is what we've been talking about with Entrepreneurial Leap. For anyone who has not taken their leap yet or just took their leap and you're in startup mode, the second context is obviously what I created in EOS and Traction and those books that I wrote. That's for an entrepreneur that is beyond their 10th employee. They typically have between 10 and 250 employees. That's where you're looking to really grow your business to the next level and run it like a Swiss watch. And so I just want to make sure I anchor the content as we talk about this for your listeners so they know kind of where we are. But there's the long answer as to what is an entrepreneur in the making.
Well, it's again, clarity is one of the biggest things, right? And I think when we jump into business, I have this philosophy, and you know, hustle is a season. It's not a business strategy, and I think that oftentimes we spend a lot more time, you know, more effort, more everything than we need to in that hustle stage before we actually start looking at things from a business standpoint. What's your take on that? I mean, how soon, for example, should somebody start looking into deciphering, okay, what the business is going to look like, or wiring themselves, you know, out of that hustle mentality into that business and processes and systems, right? So you're talking about the traits and characteristics. If somebody has those, how soon can somebody realistically start looking at, okay, this is what's going to happen in my professional career going forward?
Yeah, perfect. And so this answer, I always try to make my answers as concise as possible. This one is hard to make concise, but this is actually going to lay the foundation for the whole podcast and what we're going to talk about. So hang in there as I answer this question, because that is exactly why I wrote this book. Okay. And this book is written in 3 parts: confirm, glimpse, and path. It starts with confirm, because we first have to confirm whether or not you even have the 6 essential traits. And assuming you do, as per your question, the second thing I do is then I show you a glimpse of the life, all that is possible, and all of your options, which starts to get to the answer to your question. So hold that thought. The third part of the book is then path. That's the meatiest part of the book, but that's where I'm showing you a path for how to build an amazing company, how to survive the startup phase. I help you eliminate half the mistakes you're going to make. You'll make the other half, can't prevent them. They're inevitable. And I will help you get there faster. And so in your question that you're asking, I always want to anchor it in one of the 3 parts of the book. So if I can just back up to confirm, the last little part of confirm is we've got to confirm that you have the 6 essential traits first, because if you don't, with all due love and respect, nothing can help you. Please don't take the entrepreneurial leap you will be miserable for the next 10 years. So I'm doing this to save lives for the 96% of the population that do not have these traits, and to find the 4% in the world and let them know why they were put on this planet and help them live the life they were born to live. And so there is an assessment on the website that is free, e-leap.com. Please go take it, answer the 25 questions. You will get a score. You score 90 or higher, you have the traits. And so now, in answering your question, let's pretend you confirm that. What do you do next? Well, you're going right to the next part of the book, which is Glimpse. And in Glimpse, I teach that there are countless options for building a business and the type of business you want to build. And not every entrepreneur is built to build every business. And so I help you pick the perfect match for you. I call it My Biz Match. That tool is on the website as well. It is free. You spend 20 minutes clicking a bunch of buttons and out pops the perfect business, the perfect industry for you, perfect type of business, B2B, B2C, product or service, high cost, high value, low volume, or low cost, commodity based, high volume, and size, $1 million company, 10 million, 100 million, $1 billion, because we are all built to build something very specific, and it's going to help give you those answers.
I love it. I love the fact that you always have a ton of resources and tools on your, or supporting materials on everything that you talk about. I mean, every book that I've read that has your name on it has that level of support. On that second stage of the book, the glimpse, you talk about a vivid picture, right? Yeah. So it's from what I'm grasping here. You first off, an entrepreneur has the traits, right? Maybe undeveloped or whatnot, but the traits are in there. Mm-hmm. That's where skill set and training and that kind of stuff can roll in. But having the vivid picture, it's at least for me, like it was I was looking outwards for that vivid picture. It took me a while to figure out that vivid picture meant, okay, it's something that's internal. It's what do I want as an individual? How do I develop the business that I want to develop? What does it look like in terms of time, in terms of effort, in terms of culture and team building and all that? Mm-hmm. Can you give us a little bit of context on what a vivid picture looks like for you, or how you craft it?
For sure. And keep in mind, what I'm doing is I'm helping that audience out there. And so let's pretend we're talking to your audience. Mm-hmm. I'm helping your audience create a vivid picture. And so, let's pretend there are 10,000 people listening right now. Yeah. Well, I need to help 10,000 people create a vivid picture. And so here's how I do that, because every one of our vivid pictures is different. Yeah. And so I do 3 very specific things in the glimpse part of the book. The first thing I do is I give you countless real world stories about people who were right where you are and show you how they built what they built. So you can see the entrepreneurial journey 10 different times through 10 very unique stories. And so you can start to resonate with the story that matches you the most. Number 2, what I share with you is a vivid picture of a day in the life of an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. both heaven and hell. So when it's really good and when it's really bad. And what I'm helping you understand there is I'm getting you to see what it looks like when it's a day in hell, because that's the life that most entrepreneurs live. And if I can get you to see it as well as see heaven, I then show you the 8 critical mistakes to avoid, so that when you launch your business and you take your leap, you will avoid all 8 mistakes and you will live the life and the day in heaven and not hell. So you're able to see the contrast and clearly know how to avoid those mistakes and live heaven. And then again, the third thing is what I shared. I show you all the industries. I show you all the types of businesses. I show you all the size of businesses, and you're going to figure out what you're drawn to. And out of that, you're going to see the path. You're going to have sense of what it looks like. You're going to be aware of the mistakes. You're going to want the day in heaven, hopefully. And then you're going to see the perfect business for you. And what Glimpse does for somebody who we've confirmed has the 6 essential traits is it lights you up and you are ready to run. Mm-hmm. Then what I do is pull back on the reins and we take you to the path, because that's when I show you a very specific set of stages, the milestones on building a great business. That's where we get into the tactics of you then building your business.
It's a very, very methodical process. And I think it makes perfect sense. Even in psychology, we have, I mean, we have algorithms for everything, right? It's crazy. If you look at simple, simple behavior and patterns, we have, disc profiles, we have, it's almost like, ways of predicting, how people acclimate to certain areas. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you're tapping into here. We come wired with certain skill sets, certain strengths, certain weaknesses, right? And I think the magic is in tapping into those strengths and capitalizing on those and taking those to the next level. On the path section, you talk about, I mean, I think it's an interesting statement, and this is a solid question for me, that I have. But you mentioned that entrepreneurship is not a process; it's a set of traits. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, if anyone ever sells you on the perfect process for starting and building a company,
yeah,
they are lying to you because there isn't one. And so every entrepreneur, so let's go back to Glimpse. There are so many industries, so many types of businesses, so many size of businesses. The path to building $1 billion company and the path to building a $500,000 company are very different. The path to building a $500,000 apartment management business and $1 billion tech company are very different. And so I could give you, we can go through 10,000 examples.
Yeah.
And so the paths are all different. And so all I'm showing you are the different milestones, the different stages, the disciplines you must possess, because what I'm doing is I'm helping to rein in this incredible entrepreneurial energy that you have. So somebody with the 6 essential traits is borderline crazy. Okay. We entrepreneurs are borderline crazy. It's not
I couldn't agree more with that statement.
Yes. It's not saying what we do. It's not saying what we do to ourselves, but we are so passionate about the thing we want to bring to the world. We kill ourselves to get it there and we get knocked down over and over and over. It's not for everyone. It's only for the 4%. And so what I'm doing is not giving you get your business cards, launch your website. It's not about that. There is no process. And then I always jokingly say, if you're looking for a process, here's the process as I best know it. If you want a perfect process, it's 4 steps. Okay. And every entrepreneur that's successful has gone through it. Step 1, launch your business. Step 2, get your ass kicked for 10 to 20 years. Step 3, if you somehow survive that. Step 4, you emerge a successful entrepreneur. That's it. So that messy ass kicking 10 to 20 years, it's so different for every single person. And so what I'm doing again is just showing you the stages. I'm saying, this is what's going to happen at this point. Here are the decisions you're going to need to make. I'm helping you crystallize a vision so you can launch with a vision, but that vision is going to change in a month to 2 years. And you got to be ready for that change. Yeah. And so, I can give a quick overview of the 8 disciplines and a quick overview of the 9 stages if you'd like, just to get the gears turning, and we can drill down on 1 or 2, but I want to follow your lead for, your audience.
You're right on track. I was actually going to ask you about those. We have clarity, we have decision and all that stuff in there, but I think it, if you bring it from your standpoint, right? I think a lot of stuff can happen in interpretation. And I like to get it from the source. So yeah, you also mentioned, 8 disciplines and 9 stages of building a business in there. So yeah, I would love to hear about those.
You bet. Well, let me start. I'll give you the high level, the chapter outline in path, so you can get a sense of what it is that I'm teaching you. And so very quickly, it's college or not, for anyone that's at an age where they're deciding to go to college or not. Next chapter is how to discover your passion. Next chapter is how to find a mentor. Next chapter is 10-year thinking. The next chapter is the 8 disciplines for increasing your odds of success, which we're going to come back to in just a second. The next chapter is the 9 stages of building your business, which we're going to come back to in just a second. And then the final chapter is a lifetime of growth, learning, and motivation. And so now drilling down on those 2 chapters, the 8 disciplines, here are the 8 disciplines, high pass, and then you determine and just pick 1 or 2 that you want to drill down on, because obviously we don't have enough time to go into all of them.
Right.
But here are the 8 disciplines for increasing your odds of success. Number 1, clarify your vision. Number 2, decide if you're a partner person. Number 3, know that the bigger the problem you solve in the world, the more successful you will be. Number 4, get feedback from customers and clients early and often. Number 5, know that your first plan will not be your final plan. Number 6, work hard, really hard. Number 7, take criticism and doubt from others with a grain of salt. And number 8, see it every night.
When you're talking about seeing it every night, are you going back to that vision that that we were talking about a minute ago?
Yes, for sure. And it's a little different, bigger, intangible than that. So the thought leader that I learned this from is Earl Nightingale, one of the godfathers of inspiration and motivation. He recorded an LP in the 50s called The Strangest Secret. And you can actually listen to this audio on YouTube. Just Google on YouTube or search on YouTube, Earl Nightingale, Strangest Secret. It's a masterpiece on understanding the power of when you put your mind to something, we become what we think about. And so see it every night says it's picking the number one most important thing you want to accomplish, which is typically your 10-year goal. And it's seeing it in vivid color every night where you can touch it, feel it, see it, taste it. If you will do that every night for the next 10 years, odds will soar that you will achieve it. And everything I teach, I've lived everything I'm teaching. I practice what I preach. There's not 1 ounce of theory in what I'm sharing. And so I'm here to tell you it works. And the last little point on that is when you put your mind to something so clearly and you see it every night, there are universal laws that line up. We cannot explain how it works, but the universe helps you out and you get there faster. It puts things in your path.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We become what we think about, and I think energy can be scattered or it can be focused and intentional, right? Thoughts create that energy behind the intention that we want to pursue, and that goes for emotional intelligence. It goes for relationships, but it also goes for the business and the pragmatic stuff, putting a team together. What's the intention behind that? It's interesting, but I've seen it, and I've experienced it. I can't tell you how many times where I'm picturing this and okay, I need this type of person or this type of relationship, or I need to, I don't know, tap into, heck, take our conversation right now, for example. It happened in a very, very interesting, and magical way, but it's because, your energy is going to flow where attention goes. If we don't have a path, if we don't have a direction, we're starting in a business and we're just kind of going through the motions and the taskiness of things. It's almost like pushing a truck with no wheels, right? It can be that heavy, that arduous. But when you have a direction, it starts pulling you. I think it transforms into that sense of purpose that we often need as entrepreneurs, just to get us going and get our asses in gear through those moments where we feel like doing nothing. When the morning just feels better when you're underneath the blankets than getting up and making those calls or pushing for that new marketing campaign, or doing the stuff that happens within those first 10, 20 years. So yeah, it's having that direction it's definitely one of the key things I think that we got to have as entrepreneurs. How about the 9 stages of building a business?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so same drill. I'll do an overview of all 9, and then you pick the one that you want to drill down on. And so here are the 9 stages of building your business. Number 1, generating cash. Number 2, hiring an integrator. Number 3, discovering your core values. Number 4, holding yourself accountable. Number 5, communicating frequently with your employees. Number 6, having a plan B, C, and D, kind of tongue in cheek on D, but definitely a B and C. Number 7, staying in your personal sweet spot. Number 8, preventing your business from getting away from you. And number 9, capitalizing on coaching, training, and mentoring.
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with the lineup, right? The first question that kind of pops up, you mentioned discovering your core values on the 3 after cash and integrator. Why does it come along in a 3rd step, as opposed to, isn't our core values supposed to be tied into our purpose and to our vision for what we want to have and do over the next 100 years?
Yeah, right on. But here's the thing. So everything in my power to put these in a sequential order,
Yeah.
but there isn't one. And so literally every one of these things could be in a different order.
Hmm.
And so it's going to be different for everyone. And I explain that in the book leading into these so that you're aware of that. And
Mm.
so you may need to discover your core values first, but what it comes down to is the day you have to hire your first employee is the day you must discover your core values. And so again,
Oh.
I clearly teach that in the book. And so some people, they don't hire their first employee for 2 years. Some, they start their business with their first employee and they've got to come up with their core values the day before they start their business.
Oh, yeah. And then what happens? You end up with this generic list that doesn't even make sense about, it's not you, right? I think core values are a guideline of how your business is going to perform. It's when we're gone, we're not there, we're on vacation doing whatever. What's your team doing? How are they behaving, right? It's kind of like benchmarks, or not benchmarks, but safety rails for acceptable behavior within the company, and inspiration and aspirations as well.
Yeah. And I would add one more word because you are spot on. And I would say culture. It defines your
Yeah.
culture. And so what do you want your company to reek of as a culture? And so you've got to define that very early on before your first employee. So to your point, when you've got 10 or 20 or 50 or 100 employees, they are all acting and being the same way in alignment with the company culture.
Yeah. The growth, plays right into that company culture, because it changes, right? Every time you scale up or you level up to the next stage of your business, the culture is going to take a hit. Anytime chaos is introduced to an organization, or even a conversation, the context of that changes, right? And then challenges hit, and the comfort level just kind of escapes you for even if it's a day or a week. When it comes to business, it really, like, the real behaviors kind of flourish. How do you manage that how do you prevent your business from getting away from you when you're going through scaling in stages of growth?
Yeah. And so, now you're touching on number 8, preventing your business from getting away from you.
Yeah.
And bring a tool into this conversation that we talked about in Glimpse. And so My Biz Match, let's pretend you went to the website, you filled it out, you spent the 20 minutes, you clicked on all the buttons, and hypothetically, let's pretend you decide you want to build a $5 million heating and cooling company with 40 people generating a 20% profit. Okay. And so that's the dream, and that's the vision you create. You'll see there's a tool on the website to help you create that vision. And so forward you go. Preventing your business from getting away from you is that's what you're going to build. And as you start to build it and become more successful, there's going to be lots of shiny stuff presenting itself to you. There are going to be lots of opportunities trying to distract you from building that vision. And it's going to take every ounce of your energy to build that vision. And so there's an old saying that says, the more you become successful, you're more likely to die of indigestion of too many opportunities than from starvation of not enough. And so the point is, you got to get really good at saying no. Well, what most entrepreneurs with these 6 essential traits do is they start getting distracted by all those shiny things that look cool. Because, for instance, all of a sudden they've generated their first $1 million in revenue, and they've got 10 employees, and they're in a house, and all of a sudden they see an opportunity. Well, hell, we're in here doing the heating and cooling. Why don't we do plumbing as well? And all of a sudden they find themselves in the plumbing business. And then all of a sudden there's a heating and cooling company for sale 3 cities over. Well, let's buy that business and get a second location. Well, all of a sudden, if they keep taking advantage of all these opportunities, there's a good chance they're going to end up with 5 locations. They're going to be disparate all over the place. They're doing plumbing, electrical, heating and cooling. They've got, and so the point in all that is it just gets away from you, and you've got this messy, complex thing that you never wanted to create. And ironically, if you would have just stayed focused on your core and just build that $5 million heating and cooling company, you'll be more profitable. You'll be happier. It'll be a lot less complex. And so that's the best way I can describe that stage.
Sustainable growth is one of the, it's not sexy to talk about sustainable growth, right? But I think it is very, very much needed. I mean, I launched my first business in 2007. And man, I saw so many just challenges. It wasn't transportations. There was a lot of logistics behind it and whatnot. And one thing that I realized, anytime I added a new element to it, it's not just the element that we're adding, right? For example, if transportation, if I added a new contract to it, I added the contract, I had to add vehicles, I had to add mechanic support, I had to, figure out budgets for breakdowns and downtimes. I had to, figure out if the dispatch was going to be able to manage it. So there's a lot of things that come when we just and again, this is the reason I'm mentioning it, is because it was a shiny object. I wasn't schooled enough through hard knocks.
I want to jump on that point because,
yeah.
Like I said, there's no theory what I'm saying. I'm speaking from experience. And so I have personally taken 135 companies through my process, and I've worked with every industry you can imagine. Yeah. Well, half of those companies got distracted by shiny stuff. And so when I came in and took them through the process, we are spinning off business units. We're getting them refocused. They made all those mistakes. So I'm not making this shit up. And so all of a sudden, when they spin off all that stuff they got themselves into and refocus, boom, all of a sudden they started growing again. And then for me personally, I am such a fanatic about this. We launched EOS worldwide. We built that over 15 years. We grew 40% per year for 15 straight years because we focused. We did what we did better than anyone else on the planet. And there were 1,000 shiny things we could have done. And we said no to all 1,000. Yeah. So at the end of the day, though, you're an entrepreneur with 6 essential traits. It is intoxicating, all those shiny things. And I just have the discipline to say no, as do most of my clients, once they embrace the power of staying focused.
Yeah, clarity of vision it's one of the best tools that we can tap into. It's easy to get sidetracked. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to feel like we're missing out on opportunities and whatnot. But in reality, it's not about what we're not taking, right? It's about what we're saying no to if we take it. Yeah. Is it like, for example, I've come to terms with the idea that I don't think there's anything that would entice me enough to say yes to if I had to be working on that thing 24/7. I value my time. It's just one of the priorities that I learned to just embrace, right? It's a reality of who I am now. And that factors into, the decisions that I make as an entrepreneur. But it's important to have those lined up. And at the beginning it can be cloudy. Why? Because we're chasing the dollar. We're just trying to make shape work. And it's again, to me, making that transition from that hustle mentality into that business onset, was a game changer, right? And oftentimes it can be hard to see. The way that you break it down and really bring awareness to the whole cycle, I think, you do have the pragmatic stuff on what we need in terms of business, but I think you're tapping into an area that it's often left, just on the wayside. And it's, what's the psychology behind the entrepreneur? What are the skill sets that we're going to be tapping into? And it can be one of those brutally honest conversations, right? That you need to have with yourself, whether or not are you willing to put, to put yourself on the line to go through this kind of things. But what got you started in this path? I'm super curious about that. So yeah, you tapped into that entrepreneur background when you were growing up, and you were talking about academics and whatnot. But what told you? What was that thing that snapped in your head and you said, I gotta clean this up. I gotta figure this out. I have to come up with a system, a process, or something that enables me, to do better and get to the next level. And then EOS happened. What triggered that?
Yeah, so it was 3 things in my mid-20s. And I would say, number 1, taking over the family business and doing the turnaround. Okay, so I was armed with 2 amazing mentors. My dad and a gentleman by the name of Sam Cup taught me everything I knew about running a business, leading and communicating to people. Yeah. Number 2, I got in a strategic coach program and discovered my unique ability. And number 3, I got involved in the Entrepreneurs Organization. And with those 3 big data points, I saw an entire world out there waiting for me, because up until then, I was a neophyte in terms of I was so ignorant to all of the opportunity in the world and all the different types of businesses and all that is possible. And so once I saw the world, once I realized the gift that I have and what I can do for the world, and the experience I had turning around and running that business for 7 years, being a systems-minded person, what it is my mind sees patterns and trends. And when I see something repeating itself, I just grab that, turn it into a tool, turn it into a system, turn it into a process. And so all those things came together. Also, there were 100 thought leaders that I studied, read, learned. I was a fanatic about learning. I would go to every seminar I could, read every book that I could, listen to every audio recording I could. And so, boom, comes my 30s. I knew exactly what I was going to do.
Man, it's a combination of learning and action. I mean, I think we can't get caught in that theoretical space, right? Just reading, or going to seminars and trainings and being part of masterminds and whatnot without coming in taking that massive action that needs to go behind everything. And so yeah, it's I mean, it's incredible to see the path that you've laid. And the clarity that you're bringing to people. I know before we actually click record, we were just kind of talking a little bit about my background. My biggest question when I was growing up was clarity. When I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I was 19 years old, and I knew I wanted to launch a business. I just didn't know what it was. I didn't know what I wanted from an individual standpoint, right? Like what do I actually really want as an individual, as a person? What do I want my life to look like? It's easy to break into business just for the sake of the dollar, and that's exactly what I did for first, I don't know, call it 8 years, and I was stressed. I got burned out. I was miserable. I started dabbling with how to make ends meet and putting pieces of a puzzle together and whatnot, but I didn't have a methodical approach to things. And one of the biggest things, I wasn't tapping into collective intelligence. I wasn't tapping into people who knew more than I do, or I did at that point. And now, I mean, every time I go, for example, to a mastermind, I walk away from that kind of stuff and my mind is blown. I have 1,000 shiny objects that I can look at. I still come back and I have the awareness to get centered and okay, this is my track. There may be some bolt-on stuff that can play into it, but if it's not within the track or the scope of it, I don't want it. It's hard to say no to that kind of thing, but focus it's imperative, right? We can't do anything without focus.
Here, man. Here.
I love it. I want to be very respectful of your time. I have a question this is perhaps my favorite question, but it's if you were walking down the street and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what would you tell that kid?
I would tell that kid to be yourself, know thyself, and let your freak flag fly. So it took me till about 35 years old to realize that. And man, if I would have realized that at 17 years old, holy cow.
Let your freak flag fly. I want to make a t-shirt and absolutely give you credit.
Well, that's been said many times, many ways, so don't give me credit for that.
No, I love it. Guys, if make sure that you order the book. It's all retail outlets. It's the Entrepreneurial Leap. Really, really good stuff. I mean, if you had anything to do with traction and we all, I mean, I think everybody in my circle had, was impacted to a big degree with the content in this book. I mean, Entrepreneurial Leap comes in and then handles the other half of it. So take the assessments at www.eleap.com. That's e-leap.com. Okay, we'll be sure to put all the links on the show notes. And yeah, I mean, absolutely take advantage of the tools that are out there. It's insane what resources we have available when we just start looking for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I would just add two other things in terms of resources for your audience. And so obviously the focus has been on Entrepreneurial Leap, and certainly Entrepreneurial Leap is the epicenter of all things Entrepreneurial Leap. And as you go there are a ton of free tools, ton of resources to help you start a business and start a better startup. The other thing I would point to on that is if you are someone who loves teaching, helping, guiding, coaching, mentoring entrepreneurs in the making, click on the Become a Collaborator button. And this is a passion project for me. That's where you join forces with me. I give you this content for free and you just teach it to the world. You don't give me any money. We don't sign any contracts. I'm just looking for more people that want to help and teach. And then the second thing I would share, if you're curious about all the content that I've created, because I've put 5 major pieces of content out to the world, just go to my main website, which is GINOWICKMAN.com, and then you'll see everything there. for those of you that want to see all the paths, all the content, all about helping entrepreneurs become successful and live their optimal life.
I love it. I'm definitely going to be clicking on that collaborator link.
Right.
One, because I live and breathe business models and processes, and also because I know it works. So thank you so much. Gino, if somebody wants to get a hold of you or find out more about you, besides the websites, of course, where is a good place to see what you're up to?
Yeah, well, that is actually the best place. If you go to GINOWICKMAN.com, you'll see it all. Like I said, it's 5 pieces of content. Decide which path you want to go down, or which content is intriguing to you, and then just send a message if you want to reach out to us on anything. But GINOWICKMAN.com is the epicenter of everything I'm up to.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Gino. It's been an absolute honor to have you on the podcast with us today.
Right back at you, Rafael. Had a blast.
Thank you. Thank you. Family, there you guys have it. Make sure you go to www.e-leap.com and check out the Entrepreneurial Leap book. It's really good. And also make sure you visit the websites. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay focused. You got this.